It's my belief, I know this sounds crazy, but it's my belief if you're a woman and you're a woman with children, the likelihood that you'll develop a thyroid issue, if properly screened in your lifetime, is almost 100%. So I think those numbers, I think it's not a matter of if, but when.
Hey, everybody, I'm
And I'm Jen Giammo.
And welcome to another episode of Everybody Talks, a podcast where we explore the wide world of wellness. Sometimes we talk to experts, sometimes we talk to each other, but we're always talking to you. And if you want to watch this episode, go to our YouTube channel right now and watch us at Everybody Talks Podcast.
Every week, we discuss topics from nutrition and exercise to mindfulness and self-care. And our guest today is a licensed and nationally certified physician's assistant with a bachelor's degree from Texas State University in psychology and a master's degree in PA. She's received training through numerous integrative medicine for mental health conferences and mentorships and is certified through the prestigious Institute for Functional Medicine.
She's the visionary behind Modern Thyroid Clinic, a functional medicine practice in Austin, Texas, and is now the host of the Modern Thyroid and Wellness podcast. A recent TEDx speaker, she became a thyroid expert after being a thyroid patient. She spends her time not only helping her patients get their lives back, but also teaching and advocating for the millions of people suffering who aren't. Please welcome our guest today, McCall McPherson. McCall, welcome to Everybody Talks. How are you? We're excited to have you and talk about this. Why don't you, I think it's kind of unique and we really haven't talked about this topic at all. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey to where you are now, like how you got started, and also that you lived with thyroid disease yourself and what that was like and how it turned you into helping others.
Yeah, I love that. So when I was 27, I was already practicing medicine. I had been diagnosed with a thyroid issue for a long time and was put flat on my back. I was exhausted, couldn't function. I was so foggy, had gained weight for absolutely no reason when I didn't change anything. And I was like, oh, of course, like this is just my thyroid. Not a big deal. I was on Synthroid. I must need a medication change. Went to my doctor and told him hey, these are the slew of thyroid symptoms I have. Let's check some labs. Let's make some adjustments. He checked only one lab and a TSH, which is sadly what most people end up getting checked to screen for and manage their medication, and came back and was like, look, McCall, your thyroid looks fine. It's not your thyroid. Go eat less, exercise more. By the way, you have this cholesterol issue. Maybe we put you on Lipitor at 27, sent me on my way. I did some research and I was like, what, like, this has to be my thyroid, surely. So went home, devoured, any information that I could through the thickness of brain fog, went back with a little post-it note and I was like, hey, it looks like we can actually do more labs. Like we can take a deeper look, see if we can garner some information and figure out what's going on. And his answer was, no, I'm not checking any more labs. TSH is the definitive standard of care. And in fact, it looks like maybe we need to reduce your medication based on your TSH. And I just broke down, left his office and was like, if you take anything else from me, I won't have a job. I won't have a relationship. Like I can't function in my life. So left, found an integrative medicine clinician, physician many, many years ago, one of the only one around that specialized in complex thyroid disorders, waited months to see him. And when I did, he completely changed my life. Quickly, he became a mentor to me, and I just absolutely devoured any study information that I could on thyroid. And that was, probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago now, and have ended up treating only thyroid issues. That's how Modern Thyroid Clinic was born, and have continued to refine our protocols over the last decade. And I believe what we have now is the best of the best in terms of thyroid care. And I get to spend my day giving people like myself their lives back. It's been an incredible journey.
It's just, it's amazing that, and we do hear that a lot on this podcast.
I know we're very into functional medicine here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's so hard, just to digress for a second, it's just so hard to find a doctor who will go the extra mile for you when you have something wrong with you, to just find what is ailing you for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Mm-hmm. I know
Oh, that's a
it's
shame.
going
Yeah.
in the right
I
direction.
think so
I
too.
think
I mean,
I
yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
But so 1 in 8 women will develop a thyroid condition, is what I read. But only 60%, or only 60%, up to 60% remain undiagnosed. So why? I mean, we kind of know why it's overlooked, but why is it misdiagnosed?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, it's my belief. I know this sounds crazy, but it's my belief if you're a woman and you're a woman with children, the likelihood that you'll develop a thyroid issue, if properly screened in your lifetime, is almost 100%. So I think those numbers, yeah, no, I think it's not a matter of if, but when at this point in time. And the stats that you read are standard of care stats, right? So 1 in 8, 60% are undiagnosed. Those statistics, medicine right now is in this weird headspace for thyroid since about 2018 when an initial study came out and sort of shifted the paradigm. And we are working overtime in medicine to diagnose and treat less people with thyroid conditions. And it is leading to an incredibly heavy, cumbersome disease burden of chronic health conditions in our country because so much is influenced with thyroid. I think it's exponentially, the stats are far worse than not even states. So it's so incredibly important that women are educated and informed consumers of their health, which is great. That's why Everybody Talks is an incredible resource for them as well, right? So we can inform and support these women on this journey.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're trying our best
we
here.
we try very
I mean,
hard.
we definitely have learned a lot, and we've sort of become advocates for ourselves.
We
I know
think we're doctors now.
we
by the
do.
way.
I think I'm a doctor now. So. Well, yeah, maybe.
Well, why don't you start at the beginning and like talk about what some signs of like a malfunctioning, a dysfunction in your thyroid, what that looks like, what that feels like, what you should notice about yourself.
Yeah. So, we'll talk mostly about hypothyroidism. That's definitely like 9 times out of 10 what women are dealing with as opposed to hyperthyroidism. And
Yeah.
hypothyroid symptoms are like fatigue, weight gain, dry skin, hair loss, brittle nails, brain fog, low libido, kind of slow digestion, cold intolerance. You'll start to notice like increases in blood sugar and cholesterol on your yearly panels when you haven't really changed anything. And those are the bulk of them. And medicine kind of looks at them as non-specific. They kind of say, well, there's a lot of things that could cause this, but the reality is this: is look, like if you have 4, 5, 6 of those symptoms, it's pretty specific. Like if you land in the hands of the right clinician, most likely you have a thyroid condition.
And a lot of those
Mhm.
symptoms are perimenopausal symptoms too. So how do you differentiate? I mean, I guess going to the doctor and being tested, guess is the answer to that.
You need to get checked for both. I mean, I think they're fairly distinct from perimenopause, menopause. The overlap generally lies in low testosterone symptoms like low libido and poor physical stamina, which you could say is fatigue. It's a little different manifestation. We treat hormones as well at Modern Thyroid Clinic. But I would say ultimately, when you hit perimenopause, when you hit menopause, your chances of developing a thyroid issue significantly increase as well. So you just need to check for both and because ultimately, if we fix your perimenopause, your hormones, your menopause, imbalances, but we don't fix your thyroid, you're not going to be thriving and vice versa. So it's women deserve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk to us about, so when you are doing these labs, everybody is like, oh, well, I'm in the normal range, so I'm fine. But we know that normal is not optimal. Talk to us about the difference, and can you just explain that a little bit, what these ranges are and what is optimal for women?
Yeah, for sure. So, kind of even one step back from that is making sure that we're getting the right labs. Like TSH is what has been accepted as standard of care to rule out thyroid conditions. And it's simply not enough. So, TSH is a hormone from our brain that stimulates our thyroid to produce thyroid hormones. If we're trying to rule out a thyroid condition, we should probably be also checking.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
most important thyroid hormone that sadly is extremely rarely ever checked is called free T3. It's the active form of our thyroid hormones that is able to implement all of the actions on a cellular organ level. It's what impacts everything. And a lot of people, in fact, don't take that T4 and make T3 from it, but we'll never know if we don't check. And then there's other hormones as well, reverse T3. Antibodies for Hashimoto's, TPO, and thyroglobulin are also very, very important. But when we think about normal versus optimal, and this is kind of what happened with me. One, I only got TSH checked, but two, my doctor's like, look, you're normal. And I think where we're missing the mark a little bit in medicine, especially with thyroid, and especially with people who don't quite understand how this works, is, there is no magic range that's globally accepted for what's normal for thyroid. So essentially, what's happening is you're going to your doctor's running a thyroid panel, they're getting your lab results back, they're scanning it to see if anything is in bold or off to the side. And if not, they're like, look, everything looks great, you're fine. There's a couple of problems with that. This lab range that is telling them what's normal or not, versus meaning what's in bold or what's normal text, it varies per lab and it varies per lab location, meaning the Quest lab by my office is different than the LabCorp down the street is different than the Quest by my house. So every lab's definition of what is acceptable is different, meaning a patient can go into their doctor, have a TSH, let's say, if we want to keep it simple, of 4.5, and the doctor can say, oh my gosh, look here, everything looks great. You don't need thyroid meds, send you on your way. The next patient can come in and have a TSH that's 4.5, the exact same result, but this lab says that that's not normal. And the doctor will be like, oh my gosh, let's start you on some thyroid treatment today. You've got a thyroid problem. So that's a big, huge issue. A couple layers deeper than that is these labs, how they're determining their quote normal ranges. They're just selecting a bunch of patients in their databases. They're ruling out like the top and highest and lowest percentages. They're formulating averages. What's the problem with that? Well, I mean, people that go to labs generally aren't like, I feel so great today.
Yeah. We're being measured against unhealthy people. Yeah.
People that are not well, they're looking for answers to why they feel bad. And now we are accepting their ranges as quote normal, and it just isn't the case. We're not screening and ruling out people with hypothyroidism in those ranges, so we are including people in that data set with the condition we're trying to rule out, which is ludicrous, right? So what Modern Thyroid Clinic has done, and I think a lot of people want to follow suit in that, is in a lot of functional medicine ranges, we take out the upper and lower tiers of each of those normal ranges, quote, normal ranges, and they narrow it down a little bit. And that's great. That's how we started, right? And since then, every 12 to 18 months in our practice, based on our own in-house data, where do these people feel good? Where do they not feel good? Where do they have symptoms? Where do they not have symptoms? We have narrowed those margins over and over and over, and now we're left with ranges that are this wide. But we find if we can get people into those ranges extremely tightly controlled, always within what medicine would define as normal, but much more narrow margins, people get their lives back. Their symptoms go away and they have profound changes in their health and vitality.
Yeah, it's so. First of all, I didn't know about the different labs.
Is that true of any test that you get of anywhere? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like what you said about kind of narrowing that window. It's almost like customized medicine. It's like you are really getting to the root of where do they feel good, where do they not have symptoms. I think that's like, how is that not kind of factored into
I know.
these ranges? I mean,
Right.
that doesn't, because even when you're, the example
I
you
know.
gave of like a reading of 4.5, that could be high for someone, low for some, or normal for someone else. But how do those people feel? How do those two people feel? And I just think that it's
Can I ask a very like high school biology question? Can you just
Absolutely.
explain? I'm sitting here and I'm like hearing all the things, and I'm thinking back to I've been overweight for most of my life, and my doctor tested my thyroid, and I prayed that it was my thyroid and not that I just ate too much. But what does the thyroid? This is a stupid question, maybe not. What does the thyroid do? Like,
Yeah.
I know that I learned that once, and I'm sure Jen knows because she's much more into that than me, and she's the health professional, but I am not. So I want to
Yeah.
just take a step back and so you can understand like how it's functioning in your body and like what is making it go wonky in all these women.
Yeah. So its function, like its purpose in our body, the crazy thing is it serves most every purpose in our body. Like it is a foundational cornerstone for most every large biological reaction that's happening. So your metabolism is completely entirely will not function without adequate levels of T3, without proper thyroid hormones. Hormone production completely dependent on thyroid. The digestion of your food, even the ability to assimilate and transport and excrete cholesterol is dependent on thyroid hormones. Protection from cancer dependent on thyroid hormones, regulation of blood sugar, which is a foundation for pretty much every long-term health outcome, to properly be able to maintain. Cardiovascular risk increases substantially, even in people with what's called subclinical hypothyroidism. People that medicine says we don't even need to treat these people, they're not severe enough yet. They absolutely should be treated because almost every negative health outcome manifests in these people. Fertility, highly compromised in people hypothyroid and subclinical hypothyroid. Um, it really truly impacts everything. And medicine sort of approaches it as, well, we just put them on this one class of medication. We assume it's going to work and everything's fine and it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. And I think the rates of thyroid issues are increasing. The number one driver of hypothyroidism is a condition called Hashimoto's, which is
Yeah.
an autoimmune attack that happens on our own body, and it attacks our thyroid gland, eroding away that hormonal secreting tissue, leaving us with like scarry inflammatory tissue that just doesn't work as well. And Hashimoto's is heavily influenced by our environment, inflammation, toxins, pollutants, standard American diet, all kinds of things that in real time, are not necessarily getting better in the world. They're kind of getting worse. And so we see that manifest as an increase in incidence of thyroid conditions.
Wow.
okay.
Thank you.
So I have a question. I have two friends who had thyroid cancer and they had their thyroids removed. Um, does the medication that they take is that sufficient enough? I mean, I guess it is. I mean, they're living. But how do you know? Like as your body changes, as you age, all of those things. How do you know how much of that medication is going to produce the amount of hormone that you need, of thyroid hormone that you need?
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, Jen, is that a lot of times it doesn't matter how much of that medication people take, they'll never get access to the hormones they need because those medications, they're one class of medication. It's called a T4 based medication. These are medications like levothyroxine, Synthroid, Unithroid, Tirosint, Levoxyl, basically what 89% of people in America are on, solely those medications. So I want to paint a picture a little bit. Those medications are completely inactive thyroid hormone. Think about it like crude oil, right? We don't put crude oil in our car to make our car run. We need it to make gasoline to put in our car to make it run. But if someone's giving us an endless amount of crude oil and we can't effectively convert it to gasoline, we're not going anywhere in our car. And that's what's happening for the vast majority of people. They are taking a levothyroxine based drug. they're not actually able to efficiently activate it or convert it into their most important hormone, that free T3 hormone that I mentioned before. So they just kind of stockpile a bunch of crude oil in their garage. That sends a message back to their brain and says, we have so much thyroid hormone, lower your TSH. Everything's just trucking along over here. Their TSH lowers. And what happens to them is exactly what happened to me. They go to their doctor, they're fatigued, they're gaining weight, they have dry skin, they have hair loss, brain fog. And their doctor says, well, it's not your thyroid. Your TSH looks amazing. If they check their T4, which is their crude oil hormone that's stockpiling in their garage, guess what? They also have enough T4. And so these labs are manipulated in a way that create false certainty for clinicians that it's not your thyroid. When in fact, these people are walking around with an active thyroid hormone level, their free T3, which impacts everything, that is extremely low because they're poor converters. So, one, to answer your question, if someone does well on T4 or levothyroxine based medications, you check labs and you see what they look like. Again, they always need a full thyroid panel. The moment someone is on a T4 based medication, TSH is completely unreliable because of the situation I just described, this false elevation and false suppression of TSH. But you can check a full thyroid panel. I would always encourage those people to also check free T3 and reverse T3 so they can understand, am I a poor converter? Will this medicine ever work? If I get more crude oil, but I can't activate it, is it going to actually do anything for me? Because in all likelihood, it might not. They might need some additional medication with T3 in it to function at their best.
Okay. That was a great explanation, by the way.
Yeah.
I like how you
You are explaining everything. I just want to compliment you. You're explaining everything so clearly, something that is so scientific and really kind of over my head, quite frankly. But I'm understanding everything that you're saying.
Yay,
in such
good,
a nice
good.
way.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is.
It's just really you just don't realize it, at all.
So then, instead of these medications, what does work for a patient that doesn't have a thyroid or has thyroid disease? Yeah.
100% of our patients at Modern Thyroid Clinic are on some form of active thyroid hormone. So that's some form of T3. So for someone that comes in, let's say, has a thyroidectomy or a long history of thyroid issues, they're on a larger dose of levothyroxine, like 125 micrograms. They have all this crude oil and no gasoline. So what we like to do is not take away all this crude oil, not remove the medication from them, but hey, let's just give them the amount of gasoline that they need to function at the right level. And we add pure T3 to their regimen, which is a medication called Cytomel, or the generic is liothyronine. Other people can take a form of what's called natural desiccated thyroid. These are medications like Armour, Ren thyroid, NP thyroid, and they're actually pig thyroid gland. Built into them, they already have T4 and T3 in them. And some people do really well on that. Now, I don't think everyone needs T3, right? There are people that see their primary care doc or go to their first endocrinologist and take levothyroxine and they feel great. And that's amazing. I tell those people to go buy a lottery ticket because they're really darn lucky. But, a lot of the people will never really get that with the levothyroxine based meds. And those people, instead of being told repeatedly, it's not your thyroid. It's not your thyroid at all. This is all in your head. Eat less, exercise more, do more. No, in fact, this is a completely solvable problem. It's biochemically clear in lab work and, objective, and it can easily be fixed.
Yeah, I had a friend that was taking Armour 15 years ago. She was always trying to go, a functional route, and it was life-changing for her. She had, I guess, gained a lot of weight with the hypothyroidism, and then all of a sudden I'm like, could you get me some of that? I want some of that Armour. I don't need it, but
my life too, many, many years ago. Yeah. Really the thing is T3 in general, it's life-changing for these people. It's like the light switch comes back on,
Wow.
Yeah. So that's so interesting. So just tell us briefly the difference. You mentioned Hashimoto's. What is the difference between Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism?
Great question. I love that. So many people lump these things together and they're two distinct entities treated and managed in two completely separate ways. So hypothyroidism is a low hormone production state of thyroid hormones. It means your body simply cannot produce enough hormones. That could be because of Hashimoto's, which we'll discuss in a moment. It can also just be as we age, guess what? We produce less hormones, reproductive hormones, but thyroid, I see the same decline there. Medicine doesn't quite account for that as being the case, but it's quite clear in lab work and data. So that needs to be treated by supplementing with medication, supplementing and offsetting the hormones that your body can no longer adequately produce. So whether that's levothyroxine and cytomel, whether it's Armour or Renthyroid, those are, we need to offset the loss of that hormone excess so that you don't get a lot of other health conditions like high cholesterol, heart disease, cancer, all these other things, right? Hashimoto's is tested by way of checking antibodies, TPO, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, and thyroglobulin antibodies. And what those signify is an autoimmune disease, an attack where your body gets confused. It thinks that yourself is a foreign invader and it starts mounting this immune attack specifically on your thyroid gland. That attack just sort of eats away at thyroid tissue over weeks, months, years, decades. And it replaces that tissue that's supposed to be secreting hormones with this inflammatory tissue that just doesn't function as well. And then you end up with hypothyroidism. Now, Hashimoto's in regular medicine's approach, like just standard of care, people look at it as something that's like the reverse lottery. There's nothing you can do about it. You never even need to check it again because it's irrelevant. We know you have it. You just need to treat your thyroid problem over here with medication and be on your way. And that's actually not the case. I have been in remission for Hashimoto's that was very severe for over a decade. I had a massive goiter, that kind of swollen lump down. It looks almost like a fat pad in your lower neck. Had a huge goiter. Haven't had a goiter in so long now. Haven't had antibodies that are of any significance in a long time. Hashimoto's is actually able to be modified by influencing your lifestyle with targeted supplementation, reducing inflammation. And what's so cool about it is while regular medicine kind of says, well, we don't need to worry about it, never check it again. At Modern Thyroid Clinic, we check it, we make an intervention. Let's say you take selenium or you go dairy free for 3 months. You recheck those antibodies 90 days later and you see objectively how much they've changed. And as you see a reduction in antibodies, even before remission, it shows a few things. One, you're preserving more of your thyroid gland. You're not attacking it as quickly, so you're not eroding it away, right? Two, it shows less inflammation systemically. It's a great manifestation of that. And three, it shows a risk reduction in other autoimmune diseases showing up. Because when you have one, you're actually at an increased risk of over 30% of developing another one. So if we can lower those antibodies, we can presume that that's a risk reduction. If you get into remission, hey, I'd say that's a 30% reduction in your likelihood of developing something like MS, psoriatic arthritis, things that we really don't want.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you answered my question about what they can do, lifestyle changes and all of that. But what causes it? What causes Hashimoto's? Is that also lifestyle, environment, and everything you mentioned?
To a degree, yeah. I mean, I think there are people who are genetically more predisposed to autoimmune diseases. Like especially if you see a man with like Hashimoto's or Graves, an autoimmune thyroid issue, like his children need to be screened because at that point, those genetics are really strong because men don't generally get a lot of autoimmune diseases, especially not Hashimoto's. But genetically, kind of the functional medicine says a lot. Genetics load the gun, environment pulls the trigger. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. I think people can absolutely get it who aren't genetically primed for it if they eat standard American diet, a lot of processed food. They live in kind of a toxic environment. Rates of autoimmunity and chronic diseases are higher in places where there's more pollution and just endocrine disruptors. So those are very heavily tied to autoimmune thyroid issues in general. But I think environmentally, we have to work hard a little bit right now to avoid a lot of those things that can be detrimental to our health, not only thyroid, but in general.
Yeah, so many things. I mean, like what you put not only in your body,
Yeah.
but on your body, what you breathe in,
Right.
all of those things. And
Right.
it's something that I don't think I was ever even really aware of, like lighting a candle or, you know what I mean? Putting in
Yeah.
a plug-in. I go to my mom's house now and I'm taking all the plug-ins out of the
Sister. I was at a restaurant a
Oh
couple
my.
of weeks ago. It was right behind me. I'm like, oop, just
Yeah.
Wait, just to go back. So, if someone in your family has Graves, their children should be extra watched for thyroid problems, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
very high chance. I think in general, children should be screened. Like I really do. I'd have had a 5-year-old patient with severe
Wow.
Hashimoto's, like very, very profoundly severe. And I do find when kids get it, they usually have it really significantly. So catching that early on, just think like they can't think at school, they can't function, they feel depressed, they have mood issues, focus issues, grade issues, and that just sort of spirals. So having an advocate as a parent can go so far.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, I would imagine you don't because patients that are coming to see you are already, sold on functional medicine and what this does. But
Yeah.
but just generally, do you come into like opposition with like, oh, I don't believe that if I just exercise or I just take the plugins out of my house, I'm going to cure my thyroid. Like, do people not believe that those alternative things work? Mm.
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
sound like
Right?
a last
Like,
resort. You
Hmm.
sound like a place of
right.
last
Like
resort.
people will
They're
lick a
desperate.
frog if we
Yeah.
tell them
Yeah.
that it will
Yeah.
help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right.
we don't tell them to lick a frog, of course, but
Right.
they're bought in. They're invested in
Yeah.
their health. They're
Yeah.
Yeah.
making that commitment. I
Hmm.
get pushback online, obviously, from other clinicians even in my area of Austin, what we do in functional medicine, I think now is really people are beginning to see that medicine is so valuable. The standard of care medicine is so valuable, but it serves a different purpose than making you healthy. It doesn't make you healthy. It works to treat a disease or a condition or a situation from trauma. Medicine will never make people healthy. And I think it's an interesting time because I actually think consumers of healthcare are realizing this, which wasn't the case 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I think that's trickling down potentially, hopefully, also maybe to other clinicians as well.
Yeah. I think that's sort of where it has to also be. There has to be a lot of education for
Yeah.
clinicians and new doctors that are coming,
I think that's true.
um,
And
because,
also, I think people don't invest in staying well. Like they go to
Right.
somewhere when they're
They're sick.
sick. Like we've talked about
Right.
that 100 times on this podcast. Like it's all about being well. It's not about
Right.
treating diseases. It's about staying healthy and
that's how
well.
our healthcare system is
I know.
designed.
But they
So
couldn't go to their doctor and say,
I know.
primary care, and say, can you tell me how to be healthy? Like how to
Yeah,
be well,
Right.
how to
exactly.
thrive?
I
That
know.
clinician isn't thriving either.
No.
They're like
Right.
barely getting by. They're
Exactly.
probably overweight, have heart disease. And so it does have to be a paradigm shift. But that's what's so cool about social media, about podcasts.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's so great, and I follow you on Instagram, and I love all your your posts and stuff. But we want to talk a little bit about we've talked about GLP-1s on this podcast, and obviously weight management and all of that. But how is there an interaction between these thyroid medications and GLP-1s?
Such a good question. So, we started our GLP journey with patients like almost 4 years ago. And I'm like a data collector. I will mine my people for so much data and understand patterns. That's kind of what's made us really good at what we do in the world of thyroid as well. And some interesting things that I really didn't expect came about. One was totally there's a pattern that initially, when people are on GLPs, they often short term need an increase in thyroid medication because they begin metabolizing out their thyroid medication more quickly. because of an increase in what's called sex hormone binding globulin that transports hormones and thyroid out, but it also increases when you're on a GLP. Long term, people usually need medication reductions because as you lose weight, you need less thyroid hormones. But the most interesting thing that I figured out completely happenstance was it is reducing people's Hashimoto's antibodies almost ubiquitously, almost in 100% of cases. In a matter of months, I'm seeing reductions in TPO and thyroglobulin antibodies across the board in people who are on GLPs. And I would, not certain, but I'd venture to say we probably have the biggest data set of thyroid patients on GLPs in the world. And so seeing these patterns emerge has been so cool and so fascinating, and it's undeniable.
That is so interesting. What do you attribute that to?
The most significant reduction in inflammation that I've ever seen in medicine. There is no lifestyle change. There is no diet. There is no medication. There is no functional medicine route that can mimic the inflammatory reduction that a GLP creates in a matter of 48 hours.
Okay. And are you seeing that with the semaglutide and the tirzepatide, or is it a combination or both?
Yeah. So, it's cool. Before studies started coming out about inflammation and GLPs, we were measuring inflammatory markers in our patients for years. And now the data is kind of catching up, which has been a really fun thing to witness. But we measure CRP, HSCRP in our patients. It is a general inflammatory marker, but it also can risk stratify the likelihood that you'll have a heart attack or a stroke. Ideally, you want it like minimally less than 3, in a perfect world, less than 1. We were seeing people's CRP that hadn't moved in years, because these are our thyroid patients that we tracked for a long time, plummet in a matter of weeks. But then we started testing smaller doses, microdoses. We tested someone after 1 week of a microdose, and their CRP went from 11 to less than 4. You probably couldn't achieve that in a strict diet lifestyle regimen in 6 months.
That is fascinating.
That's fascinating. I mean, look, people on this podcast know I've been on a GLP-1 for more than a year. I mean, it's completely life-changing. Yeah, it's very life-changing. There's no, ifs, ands, or buts. No. Yes, they do. Yes. 100%. Yeah. I mean, just what you said, I mean, it's like just added to the list of all the benefits that I'm like, that I know I'm getting from it, all the
absolutely
reducing of risks. I mean, I was on blood pressure medication. I've since come off it, which, that alone, like to try to remember to take something every day is beyond my skill set. But now I don't have to,
Right. And that impacts so much more than just the medication.
Yes,
even.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially with those stats and that data. I mean,
Jesus,
that's incredible. I had no idea. So you mentioned microdosing. So I know this has kind of become, a thing.
Yeah.
So all of these benefits of GLP-1s, right? Other than the weight loss, protecting heart, heart disease and cognition, brain health, all of that. Fabulous. But if you're a person who doesn't need to lose weight,
right.
will you benefit from microdosing, and will you, how could you get the benefits that you want without the weight loss, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, your chance of dying for any reason if you're on a GLP is reduced by 30%, whether it's a heart attack or getting hit by a truck. Like, you are 30% less likely to die on a GLP-1. So I would say, who wouldn't want to be 30% less likely to die? I mean, I sure wouldn't want to die. I'd love to take a risk reduction of 30%, So, and that's just one of the manifestations. There are a million reasons why these meds are incredibly beneficial for health span and lifespan. So I think they can be used absolutely in people that do not want to lose weight. I think microdosing should be applied for people that do want to lose weight and don't want to lose weight. I think right now standardized dosing is way, way too high. And that's why we see these bad side effects that happen in the news. With microdosing, we don't see those side effects, or at least not the vast majority of them. They're mostly dose dependent. So the trick for people who want to use it for longevity reasons only is to stay below the threshold of weight loss and appetite suppression, which, a microdose can be a tenth of the lowest dose every 10, 14, 21 days. It is individualized. And that's the other thing about these meds is the dosing needs to be individualized. We should not be applying one size fits all dose across the board to everyone. We should be tailoring doses in terms of how people are responding. Mm-hmm. If they need to lose weight and they need more, we need to increase. If they're not eating enough, we need to decrease, and vice versa. So it is a bit of trial and error, and you need to have an equipped clinician to work with you to ensure that you're not losing weight when you don't want to, if you're just wanting the longevity benefits. But the trick is as small of a dose as humanly possible. And again, we've seen microdoses achieve massive reductions in inflammatory levels in literally a week without going on the high doses.
Okay.
Wow.
Because I feel
gypped. You feel left out?
I feel gypped that I'm not getting all these benefits that you are. I always told you I was going to die first. So now you're 30% less likely to die. So
right.
I feel like I need to join the club. Okay, I want to ask you about, we talked a lot about inflammation, C-reactive protein, measuring that, and how that's kind of linked to a lot of different diseases. What is your take on diet and the role in reducing inflammation, whether it's gluten-free or intermittent fasting? What do you advise people to do?
Yeah. So for thyroid issues specifically, I kind of advocate for doing testing, for looking at, hey, what foods are driving inflammation for you individually? And we do that via an IgG inflammatory food panel. But over the last 10, 12 years, there are certainly patterns that manifest after checking thousands of people with Hashimoto's and what do their food inflammatory results look like. And so we've kind of garnered some of that knowledge based on those patterns. And, if I list them in descending order, clearly, number one, the most common inflammatory food group for people with Hashi is dairy. I thought it was gluten. A lot of people thought it was gluten. The data said otherwise. So I see it about twice as often as I see gluten. So number one is dairy. Next up is gluten. Number three is legumes. Number four is grains. Number five is eggs. Number six is like nuts, seeds. By the time you get down to number six, it's like 5% of people. So everyone's like, I can't get rid of all of that. That's everything. Most people don't have to. Most people don't even have to get rid of gluten and dairy. In fact, I usually tease them out, check antibodies before, go gluten-free for 90 days, check antibodies after. The half-life of that inflammatory molecule is about 26 days. So double that in 50 days, you should see a significant reduction in antibodies if that is in fact driving inflammation for you, if you don't have access to a food inflammatory test. Okay. But I think food is something that we can control, right? For inflammation.
Totally. Yeah.
But you'd have to know what's driving what foods are driving the inflammation for a certain person, for that particular person. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Isn't that all women?
Yeah. Isn't that all? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Totally,
Right.
Totally.
Oh, that's funny. What about stress? What about people? Mental, emotional, but physical stress too. Heavy exercise, those kinds of things. How does that impact thyroid?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that you threw the physical part of that because people overlook that all the time. I definitely see it cause Hashimoto's flares. I think it's definitely related. There's a stat too, when a kid undergoes a traumatic experience as a child, the likelihood that they will develop a chronic health condition is 85% later on in life. Yeah. Yeah. That is how much stress and trauma impact our physiology. And it's hard to quantify, right? Scientifically, that's a difficult thing to understand. I can see it because I'll have people show up and their antibodies all of a sudden increase. I literally had one today and I was in clinic all day before this and antibodies skyrocketed. I'm like, is anything going on? Anything changed? What's new? Yeah, I had to put my dad in hospice 2 months ago, and it's been really hard, and so I see that objectively manifest in these numbers that I can see on paper, which is cool. It's hard because telling someone to reduce their stress when their dad's in hospice is really difficult. But the way that people can control it is the physicality of it. Like, let's not manufacture stress when you're already stressed or your body's already stressed. If you're early on in your thyroid journey, the last thing you need to be doing is going and doing HIIT or CrossFit twice a week and completely tearing down your physiology, right? Cold plunge is the same. People don't like it when I say that, but cold plunge is a form of manufactured stress. So for resilient people, fantastic. For people who are not resilient and who are already stressed getting out of their pajamas every day and getting the things done that they need to get done, we don't need to manufacture more stress. Like, surviving is enough for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It makes them weaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Wow.
that's
All
interesting.
those things.
I think about I've been under a lot of stress lately in the past 3 months, but my outlet is exercise, but I do find that I am really tired a lot because I am pushing myself to exercise, but I know my body's already stressed. So I know.
Like, one of the hardest people, like some of the only people we can't fix at Modern Thyroid Clinic are those people who exercise and they are really driven, determined people. So they get tired and they're like, well, I just need to exercise more and I'll get stronger and then I won't get tired anymore. And the pattern that takes place is, they start out and they're a little groggy later that day. And then it's like, oh, I need a nap later that day. And oh, I kind of feel sick later that day. And then it's, well, I kind of feel sick for 2 days and then a week. And then it's all the time. And once they get to that level, it's actually really hard to reverse out of that. And so I tell people, look, like, you have to rest your way out. When you're stressed, do yoga, do it walking, if you want to do weights, let your heart rate drop between every set and just calm completely down and reset. But you should never exercise to the degree that you feel less energetic later that day, that you feel more drained. That's a good sign you're doing too much, Jen. Sorry.
No, you're right. You're absolutely
Well,
right. And
thank you, McCall, for telling her things that I've told her. And you're a doctor. Which I had to say, you do both of those things. You do walk and you do yoga and you do those things to help
I
you
do, but I do think,
clear your head. But
yeah, I was just reading something about cortisol and how, if you wake up in the morning and you're not hungry, that's a sign that you have high cortisol. And I think about obviously that's stress response.
Right.
But
now you're not hungry at all anytime?
Well, I'm not hungry a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that that's part of it.
Yeah.
But my outlet for stress, for my emotional stress, is to exercise. But but what about, is there anything to these cortisol saliva tests? Are they accurate? They are. Okay.
Wow.
A blood cortisol test. Our cortisol is supposed to be high in the morning, plummet, and then slowly drift off for the rest of the day. If you check a blood cortisol test, you get like a point on a map. You don't know where it should be relative to space and time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you need a clear picture of what's happening with your cortisol throughout the day. And I would assume that now your cortisol is low, like you're crashing. You've been in a season where your cortisol is high. It can no longer maintain the demand that your body is asking of it. So you push it to meet that demand and you exercise, and then it completely crashes after.
Yeah, it's almost like I could feel that that's happening. Like I know logically that that's happening.
You're not going to exercise your way out of it. You're just going to deplete yourself further.
Can you bring on a thyroid condition just from like this life? Like, is there something? I don't know how to ask the question I'm asking, but like, if you're like quickly, like all of a sudden, I'm 1 second I'm fine, but then I've done something, or over time, I'm not sleeping, I'm not doing, whatever it is, that would make everything go out of whack.
Yeah. You can do it by like crazy immense stress, like taxing your physiology in a big way. I've seen it happen from mold. in people's homes.
Wow.
Like they won't have a thyroid problem and all of a sudden their antibodies are crazy, crazy high. I've seen it post COVID. So that's an inflammatory condition. So not super, super surprising there. I've seen a lot of graves post COVID. That was a pattern that became very, very clear: hyperthyroidism and the autoimmune disease associated with it. I've seen it come on strangely, probably a half dozen times after a dentist visit. My husband's a dentist. I don't want to talk badly about them. I love my dentist husband, but I have seen it. It's like a pattern where I'm like, wow, this is kind of weird. This is interesting. And then think about intensive seasons of inflammation. I hit a really big crisis. I lived in Italy for a year. Unfortunately, I'm celiac. I had no idea. So I ate gluten all day, every day, didn't know, and absolutely went into a severe, profound Hashimoto's flare.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
What a way to go, though, right?
I know. not so bad. Not so bad. Yeah.
Is there anything that if someone's listening and they think something might be wrong, like, is there like a couple of little tidbits of advice that you would say, aside like going to the doctor and getting your blood checked? I mean, is there things that they should take care of right away?
Yeah. So a couple closing thoughts. One is, there's no reason. What I tell people so much is there's no reason to still have thyroid symptoms. Society and medicine has sort of built this claim that, oh, when you have a thyroid issue, this is what the rest of your life looks like. And that doesn't actually need to be the case at all. These women thrive. They get their lives back. They do very well. So don't settle for anything less than that. Unfortunately, too, I encourage people to be extremely informed and empowered consumers of their health, because you cannot passively rely on a clinician right now in medicine and the time that we're at to get you to the finish line and get you your life back from a thyroid problem. That's not a winning game plan. So you need to be informed and empowered. I personally, of course, we have Modern Thyroid Clinic. It's a nationwide telemedicine practice to serve these people. But for people that are not our patients, I literally pull back the curtain and share everything so these women can navigate this problem on their own. I give them a thyroid lab guide. It's on all of my social media accounts and linked in my profile that tells them what labs they need. We share our optimal ranges literally publicly. We just give them to people so they can look at their labs and interpret on their own. Are my symptoms due to my thyroid? So that they can find answers and then know if they need to take the next step to find someone to help them. I talk a ton about medication and all the things. So I try to educate people as much as humanly possible so that they can navigate this landscape as independently as they can.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so where can people find you on social media?
Yeah. So I love to hang out on TikTok at McCall McPherson.
Okay.
So, McCall, this has been fantastic. I really have enjoyed our conversation. We hope that you have too. Thank you so much for being here. We really loved
learned
it.
a lot.
You did, and thank you just for telling someone to slow it down. Slow it down.
Got you.
I'm trying. I
Thank
will.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So there you go.
That was very informative.
Yeah, I learned
Very
so
informative.
much about
Yeah,
it.
she did break it down really in layman's terms.
I
and
think so too.
You know,
Like, you know me, like it's hard for me sometimes to follow
right.
with doctors, and there's a lot of initials, there's a lot of words, there's a lot of things, but she really broke it down in such a way.
Yeah.
And everyone should get their thyroid checked. It's like, what are we waiting for?
I know. Yeah.
You know?
Totally. And it is difficult. Like, you would have to go to a functional medicine practitioner because
I know.
you can't.
What about what she said about the labs? That it's all different.
I know. I did not know that. I did not know that. I
crazy.
always knew about the ranges because we're being measured against unhealthy people. Like, why are we in this?
Right.
But yeah, I didn't know that. And but yeah, as far as like the testing,
Yeah.
Western medicine will only ever test you for TSH, even if you request it. Like she said, I did the same thing when I was getting my
I know. I remember
HRT,
that.
and I went and they were like, "Oh, you don't need to test that." I'm like, no. I want you to
But
test
even
that.
when I remember when my doctor was first worried about my weight, and the first thing he did is like, let's test your thyroid. And, someone who is overweight, you're like, oh, please let it be my thyroid and not, that I overeat and that I need to do all the things. But like, who even knows?
Yeah.
Who even knows?
Yeah, because
So
you're not
crazy.
right. But now we're so informed
We
that we
are.
can. I mean, with so many things, when we go to our doctors, which I have to do, so busy taking everyone else to the
You
doctor.
are? I know.
But
Yes, I think we learned a few things for you as well.
yeah, I'm gonna slow it down. I'm gonna.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit. I'm gonna do more yoga.
Okay.
Do more yoga. I just have to be moving. I have to be moving at all times.
I know you pretty well, and I know that that's a release. Like I know when you're like on the treadmill and running, like everybody has their thing.
Yeah,
that they need
but it's
to do.
really detrimental.
But it's really like when I text you and it's 9 p.m. and you are on the treadmill.
Yeah,
that's not cool.
Yeah,
That's not
well,
cool.
I'm not going to do that anymore.
Okay, good.
I'm going to do yoga and stretch, and yeah. Everything she said was like, yeah, I feel all of that.
What about when you're training? Why don't you use weights appropriate for you while you're training? And then that is your workout.
I could do that, but I liked.
I mean, I know you're trying.
I'm trying to pay attention to them
and not think about yourself. But I feel like maybe you wouldn't feel like it wasn't a workout, even though it clearly is a workout.
Yeah.
That if you did more things that were appropriate to you. And people, when I used to take an exercise class, I always said this, like, you want to be the person who's teaching you. You want to emulate that person. And like, we're both doing these workouts with this Caroline. I'll give Caroline Gervin a plug for no reason whatsoever. But when I think about the weights that she is lifting, I actually was talking, I don't know, I was saying something to Kelly today about kilograms, and I was saying how when she's like, yes, I'm using 22 kilograms, and I'm like, oh, I have 20 pounds. Oh no, she's lifting 40 pounds. And like to think the weights that she has, but she's getting her workout, but I'm getting mine
She
with 10.
is. And she also is doing it so that people can see that she is getting
then
fatigued,
winded and pushing herself.
and it's hard for
that's
her.
what people want to see when they're working out with someone.
Totally.
Anyway, totally got off course of the
Yeah.
thyroid.
All right.
But this was great.
Yeah.
Go get tested. I'm Lori Schulweiss.
And I'm Jen Giamo.
And this was Everybody Talks.
Talk to you next time.
Take care.
For more information about our podcast, to learn more about us, or to catch up on all of our episodes, go to our website at everybodytalkspodcast.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Shirley, at Jen Giamo, and at Everybody Talks. And if you want to watch today's episode, go to our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
If you want to be part of the conversation, join the Everybody Talks community and become an exclusive member of our wellness group. Check out the link in our show notes to learn more.
Don't forget, if you like what you've heard, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell a friend. We're for everybody and everybody. The Everybody Talks podcast is co-created, executive produced, and hosted by us, Lori Schulweiss and Jen Giamo. Produced and edited by Station 16.
Our theme song music is written and performed by Jackie Ryle and Aaron Navisi, with additional support from our pups, Oliver, Milo, Murray, and Frankie.
Talk to you next time.